to another, you guys. We've got one on the line right now.
Aditi's with us.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
We got Aditi with us. Hi, Aditi.
Waiting.
Hi, everybody. Happy Diwali.
Happy
That's
Diwali.
right. Same to you.
We did a story on
Happy
that yesterday
Diwali.
on Channel 5. For those that don't know, a brief explainer. Tell everybody what it is.
It is the Festival of Lights celebrated all throughout India amongst many religions. And the idea is that may light shine over darkness, may knowledge always win over ignorance, and may good always triumph over evil. It's
Hard
a
to
time to
argue.
sort of hit refresh and hope that the next year is even better.
You need to tell that to the Browns.
I didn't realize it was not a religious holiday. That it's all just. Like
I didn't either until yesterday. I learned a lot about it yesterday.
That's why I like Thanksgiving so much, because it's not a religion. It's not, you don't have to be in a
It's
certain religion.
cultural.
It's an American holiday.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
But how
So
do you
this
not
is
get your arms
cultural.
around that?
Exactly.
Yeah, again, and it's all about partying and celebrating, and unfortunately, I have not been able to do that with my children, but I hope one day. Isn't that funny? This is what life is, right? Your parents give you traditions, and they matter, and you think we want to carry them on to our own children, and then life sometimes gets in the way, so
Yeah.
I'll
That's
work
the
on it.
truth.
At least
Yes,
it's 5
let's-
days. Diwali is officially 5 days, so I hope that one of these days this week I can make
hey.
my children dress up and dance.
One thing Americans love, and Cinco de Mayo proved this. Once they found out that there's a party involved, this is
Yeah.
festive.
We will we'll culturally incorporate anything if it gets us off work for a day.
That's right. And if it's a party,
Absolutely.
But
You got some drinks over there?
Yep.
what I loved about when I learned more about it yesterday, because I'd heard of it before, but I really didn't know a lot about it. But in hearing it yesterday, I'm like, so who can't sign on to that? And there's a movement in the
Right.
U.S. to make it obviously have a higher profile here, and I think that's how these things get going in the
Pro-Diwali
United
crowd.
States, is we educate, we learn about them, and hopefully,
Yes.
because what's fascinating is it's not religious, and
Right.
like, who isn't for pizza? Like everybody. So the Diwali to me seems kind of like the festive thing on the calendar that is sort of pizza. Like, it's for
Right.
everybody. Like, you can't argue with anything
And
that it's for.
it's not a change. It's not, like we say that Christmas in a lot of ways has turned into a Hallmark holiday. I mean, how many Jewish friends do you have? How many Muslim friends do you have that still celebrate with how many friends did I have that called it a Hanukkah bush, And,
Sure.
But this is not what this is based in. This isn't trying to Hallmark eyes a day. It's just saying, hey, there's an opportunity to hit reset.
It's funny that you said that.
Oh, go ahead.
yesterday,
Sorry.
it's funny that you said that, because yesterday on What's New, our Channel 3 program in the or late afternoon, we had a professor on, an area professor, who actually was contacted by Hallmark to tell. So they're trying.
Yeah.
They try to
But-
commercialize everything.
So he actually helped design 5 different Diwali cards because he had reached out to them and said, hey, well, there's nothing for this day. I want to celebrate this day and share it with a card, and there's nothing. So our area professor actually designed 5 cards, and now here you go.
good luck finding a Hanukkah card on the west side of Cleveland, too.
Oh,
That ain't happening.
Yeah,
But
probably not.
Aditi,
Did
let's
you have
get
a Hanukkah bush? Adam, did you have a Hanukkah
No, I did not have a
bush?
Hanukkah bush.
Okay, did you
Hanukkah
have...
bush.
did
He's
you
laughing
get,
at that.
Did you get gifts? Did you get gifts for the 8 days of Hanukkah?
My son does. I didn't. I got, I was lucky if I got one gift when I was a kid.
I had a friend who I grew up with, and he tried telling me that Hanukkah was not about gift giving. That was just something that was sort of done to compete with Christmas.
I don't know if that's actually true. I'm not sure. I mean, it's always been a part of the holiday, but most kids I knew didn't get 8 days of gifts. No, we would get.
Yeah.
I got one day. But I try to make it special for my son because he doesn't, because everybody else he knows is celebrating Christmas, so I try to make it extra special. But but anyway.
I hear you. That's what we're saying about the next generation, right?
All right, enough about these
In any
depressing
case, I know-
religious
yeah.
holidays that are not supposed to be depressing. Anyway, I want to we were talking about Kareem Hunt before and whether the Browns may trade him here before the deadline. If you're the Browns, would you do it now, even before this Bengal game, if you had the right opportunity, or do you want to try to see if you can win this game? Because outside of the Chiefs and the Bills and maybe the Bengals, who are playing better now, nobody else in the AFC is really all that good. It's not impossible if the Browns win this game that they could somehow get to 9 wins, and maybe 9 wins gets in the playoff. It's not looking good now, but it's not impossible. So do you wait and maybe trade him then? Or if you get a good enough offer, do you do it right now because you're 2-5?
You know what? I think at the end of the day, and so a few things.
Yeah.
You're right. It's just about getting into the dance, right?
Yeah.
And how many teams do we know? I was just actually watching video. The Ravens Super Bowl winning team gathered the 2012 team gathered this past Saturday. And Dennis Pitta was talking, and he was talking about how that team went on a 3-game losing streak. And of course, they fired their offensive coordinator in December, whatever. They ultimately get into the dance and they win. And the Giants the previous year had lost 4 in a row at the end of the season and still somehow, win their last 2, get in the dance, and they upset the Patriots. So it is about just getting in. Mm-hmm. So you're not out of it until you're mathematically out of it. That's all very true. But I think a really good offer, or whatever is sort of a lights out, I'm blown away, this makes way too much sense offer, is the same today as it is next week. I don't think that changes. If you're getting what the 49ers were willing to give for Christian McCaffrey, then of course you're going to sit here long and hard. And is that worth it? Then okay, you move. I don't know what waiting 1 week does. I don't know how that makes a difference. I think the bigger problem, of course the Browns are listening, because Andrew Berry is going to listen to anything and everything, and he wouldn't be doing his job if he wasn't listening. There is not a absolutely no way, never will we trade Kareem Hunt. That doesn't exist. So it's not as if it's impossible, but it's not necessarily a fire sale here. Andrew Berry's not going to give the guy away. And I don't know what changes before or after this game. I mean, if you get such an amazing lights out offer, you do it. What's the point in waiting until next week?
Well, I guess
that's
in
my
theory,
take on
you have
that.
a better
But really,
chance.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I guess my only argument would be if you beat the Bengals, it feels like you still got a shot. Whereas if you lose that game, yeah, you're not mathematically eliminated, but you're 3 games out of first and don't have the tiebreaker. It goes from like a 5% chance or a 10% chance to like less than 1%. But in the end, they're not using Kareem Hunt much anyway. So what's the point of holding on to him?
They're not using Nick Chubb enough. My goodness. Forget Kareem Hunt. Why isn't Nick Chubb getting the ball more?
Wow.
Why do I feel like I keep saying the same thing over and over and over again? Give the ball to Nick Chubb. That's it.
Explain it to us. Why is it happening? Please explain it to us, Aditi. What is he thinking? What is Stefanski doing?
Come on. You think if I knew that? I just, honestly, I was with the Titans this weekend, okay? So I had the Titans.
Oh, yeah, I watched you on the post-game interview.
Yeah, you did great.
Good job.
Well, thanks. Okay, so so Friday, we're in our production meetings, and, let's be honest here. The Titans don't have a wide receiver 1, and no offense, I don't even know that they have a wide receiver 2. Maybe they have a wide receiver 2.5. The Titans are going to run the ball. You know they're going to run the ball. You know that they need to ride Derrick Henry. And guess what? Do you know what they do? They ride Derrick Henry.
Tannehill's not very good either.
It's not that complicated.
Yeah.
You've got a guy who's one of the 2 best running backs in the National Football League. You've got a guy that's imposing his will. You've got a guy this past weekend that they can't stop. What was it? 13 carries? Is that what he had? 16 carries?
16 this week.
16 carries?
91.
I mean, how does that make sense?
I know. I'm so glad you're on board with this. Aditi's the smartest voice we hear from every week. You are. And sometimes we bring up things that we all agree on and we think are common sense, and you're like, no, boys, let me tell you exactly why you're wrong. And then I hear you and I'm like, she makes a really good point.
Right.
Except when it comes to the Steelers, they suck.
On this one,
you got a blind spot there.
On this one,
no, I mean that's a whole other conversation we can have as soon as
it is. Yeah, don't take us down that road yet, Bull.
Sorry.
But I'm glad to hear that you're on board, because there are people. Jason, I really respect Jason's opinion, but he's like, guys, he's number 2 in the league.
Well, I say that
number
too.
3 in the league.
He should be
and I
I say
said,
that too,
I
but
don't care. He should be number
should be
1
number
by
one.
a lot.
In fairness, he and I, who have both said that a lot, agree that he hasn't been used enough the last 2 weeks.
I just think in general.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The number one thing is diagnosing who you are, right? You need to acknowledge and recognize who you are. So I'll go back to the Titans. Going into this game against the Colts, the Titans had the worst pass defense in the NFL. They had the second to worst offense in the NFL. They seemingly are a mess in a million different ways. Their secondary isn't what it once was. They've suffered a massive amount of injuries, and yet here they were sitting at, what were they? I think they were 4-2 going into that game. They're now 5-2. They were leading their division. You know why? Because they know exactly who they are. Yep. Mike Vrabel isn't trying to be somebody else. He's not having Ryan Tannehill spread it out and throw it downfield and do crazy things. He's like, look, this is how we're going to have to win. We're going to have to play great run defense, and we're going to have to run the ball. Derrick Henry is going to have to run over people. That's it, period, end of sentence. And that's why the Titans are winning. Do you look at them and say, oh my gosh, this is the Bills? No. Do you look at them and say, oh my gosh, this is the Chiefs? No. But they are 5-2 because they acknowledge and recognize who they are, and they use the pieces they have to do what they need to do. And that's my problem with the Browns right now. Run the ball. That's it. Wow. Run the ball.
Okay? All fair.
Run the ball.
All fair, although ultimately the Titans will do what they always do, lose in the playoffs because they don't have a good enough quarterback.
At least they're there.
At least they'll
get there. I don't want to see two wins.
No, I agree. But the Browns will have a quarterback at the end of the year, and then they can do it differently. But
Mikey Nuggets
what
has
if
a
they're
question.
not getting in at that point?
Go ahead,
Again,
Yeah, I mean, they're not because they don't know who they are and they haven't played to their
That's
strength.
fair.
But
That's
Nick Chubb's going to be fresh. He's going to play till he's 60.
And by the way, if you go to the playoffs every year and you lose all the time early, eventually you're like, this sucks. This is not good enough. Let's fire the coach.
Yeah, but it's better than sucking every year.
It's not.
No,
it's
it
a
is.
nice,
It is.
It's a nice
Trust me,
I'd rather
Trust
suck
me, I
every year
would
than
know.
go to the playoffs.
No,
I would know.
Your Bengals have been objectively better than the Browns. You've been to three Super Bowls.
But when the Bengals went to the playoffs every year and lost in the first round 5 years in a row,
I'll tell you
I was like, this sucks.
I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Well, now they got Joe Burrow
I'll tell you why you're wrong, because you haven't walked with your head down out of a Browns stadium in the middle of the season, not enjoying the season. You got to enjoy the ride there at least and enjoy
so you
that
had one
season.
bad week in the playoffs.
You know, that stinks.
Get 16 bad weeks
that's
in the regular season.
We're talking being done by November, the beginning of November every single year.
First mistake is going to a football game.
Aditi, Mikey has a question for you. And
Sorry, go ahead.
He tells me
Aditi's got to run. She got a doctor.
Oh, sorry, Aditi. Go.
We will save the
Quick question, Mike. Ask your question.
For the first time in 8 years, I'm actually tempted to have you make me miss it. For the first time in 8 years, I'm having a physical, and I'm having a panic attack about it.
I'm so disappointed in you.
You'll be fine.
Pregnant, having babies, losing babies, taking care of babies. It's like I just haven't had time.
You make time for yourself. You make time for yourself.
What I'm trying to do.
I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear you.
We got to hear Mike's question though before you go.
Yeah,
no, because
it's
going to lead to a whole thing, and then she's going to miss her appointment, and I do not want to be the.
No, Mikey, go ahead.
Ask the question. Let's go.
We talked about it a little bit yesterday. There's not a clear-cut leader in this Browns team. We saw the reports after the game on Sunday yelling in the locker room. My question to you, Aditi, is can someone step up and become a leader mid-season, or is that something that's almost predetermined before the year starts? And if you can, is anyone on this Browns capable of stepping into that role?
First of all, I think that whenever you hear about what happens in a locker room, it's just exacerbated or taken to the nth degree. Okay, it's never as crazy or dramatic as outsiders try to make it be. So that's number one. Number two, of course, leaders develop. And some people are natural leaders and some people work at it. We've talked about Myles Garrett making a very, very conscious effort to try to be more of a leader and less of a loner this year. But there are guys that are inherently leaders just in the way that they work, in the way that they behave. Being a leader isn't always screaming at the top of your lungs or gathering guys to sit around a circle and sing Kumbaya. There is no question that Deshaun Watson is a leader. I think what's difficult is him not being in that role right now and him not necessarily being in the locker room on game day. I think you may see a difference then. But a guy like Joel Bitonio is a leader too. And he's a leader in just the time that he's put in there. These are not issues that are, oh my goodness, a lack of leadership. This is not a fracturing of the team in a certain way. This is that the Browns are not running the ball enough.
Fair.
Right.
Shouldn't I?
Well summarized.
Coordinator?
The calm.
Hey, you're right.
While the rest of us are screaming and yelling, mostly me, you have the calm.
And your blood pressure will show that at that physical, and we're going to find out that you have a perfect bill of health. How does that feel?
Way to bring it back.
Nervous. I don't want to step on the scale. I don't want to hear the doctor.
Nonsense.
Aditi,
all the
Would you
testing I
stop
need.
it?
Just
on the scale.
You know what the doctor's going to say even
Anyway.
before he takes a look at anything else? He's going to say, Aditi,
Gee.
great hair day. Great hair day. That's what your doctor's going to say.
All right, but Jay, you just did what my husband did. My doctor is a she. She's can be doctor too.
You
Women's
know
can-
what?
women
The
can be
damn male
doctor also.
chauvinists.
Reminds
Sorry, male
me,
chauvinists.
yeah, reminds me of that too. Okay?
Smart move.
You remember that joke about the boy who gets in the car accident? Really
Yeah.
quickly, and then I really have to go.
I don't
You know
remember
what I'm
that.
talking about, Mikey? Okay, so a boy gets in a car accident. It's really terrible. And the
I know
ambulance
this.
comes and they rush him to the hospital. And he gets into the emergency room. And the doctor looks at the boy and says, "Oh, no, I can't operate on this boy. This is my son." And the doctor was his mother.
And nobody ever gets it.
Wow.
Yeah, no one ever gets it. I left out part of it. But
By
that's
the way,
because I have
smart
to-
move. All my doctors are female. I don't go to men for doctors. It's a bad move to go to a male doctor.
I just find a good doctor.
Guys,
Except for,
I'll take
except for
Thursday.
two things. See you, Aditi.
Bye,
Bye,
Aditi.
Aditi.
Peace.